How long does it take a Force user to become proficient with a lightsaber? So, in several of the Star Wars movies, we see characters using a lightsaber after little to even no training. For example, Rey uses the lightsaber in The Force Awakens without any training at all. And in her case, I think she has some carryover from that staff that she was using earlier in the film. So she probably applied some of the principles from her knowledge of using a staff into wielding the lightsaber, and she also just tapped into the Force while she was doing that. That's how I would explain it with her. And then the other prime example of that is Luke in Empire Strikes Back dueling Darth Vader. Up to that point, we don't really see him doing any lightsaber training, really. A lot of the lightsaber training we saw him do was actually just in A New Hope, when he was deflecting those little tiny bolt things, and we just see that for like a minute. When he's hanging out with Yoda on Dagobah, he's mainly doing a lot of other stuff. Important stuff, but non-lightsaber things. So that's kind of the tradition of Star Wars, to have these characters where we don't see them do much training before they kind of dive right in. Now with Anakin, we have a very big gap in his training, so he's the little boy Anakin at the end of Episode 1, and then he has years of Jedi and lightsaber training before Episode 2. But that takes place off screen. We don't really know the extent of his training, at least going by the films, not the expanded universe and all that. So now in this next movie, The Last Jedi, we know that Rey is going to have some kind of training. We don't know exactly how long it's going to be, but I would guess it doesn't look like it'll be all that long, kind of like Luke in Empire Strikes Back. It's definitely nowhere near the gap between young Anakin Skywalker, little boy Anakin Skywalker, growing up to become teenager Anakin Skywalker. It's not going to be that long. It's not like Rey is, I don't know, 40 or 50 in the next movie. Well, okay, that's adding more years than between young Anakin and older Anakin, but anyway, you get my point. Her training is not going to be all that long. It could be a year, I don't know, maybe at most, or I doubt it'll be much longer than that. But now if we kind of bring this back to reality, how many things can you think of here on Earth that you can learn and master in a year? So if we compare it to martial arts, most martial arts, if it's a legitimate place, you need to study that art for several years before you attain a black belt. So maybe 4 years at least. And that's if you're training, granted, maybe a few hours a week for a few years. And Rey's training would certainly be much more intensive than that. Nevertheless, her training and, Luke's training on Dagobah, it's comparatively short. It's not years and years of their life, and they're just kind of scratching the surface with lightsaber stuff, Jedi stuff, Force stuff, right? With martial arts, even if you get the black belt, let's say after 4 years, black belt doesn't mean you're a master of that. To put it in Star Wars terms, after 4 years, that doesn't make you Yoda, right? So it's kind of strange in Star Wars that after a few months, year, whatever, somebody can seem to develop a mastery almost of the lightsaber. And even, well, the big difference with Luke between him dueling in Empire Strikes Back for Return of the Jedi, he really has developed some proficiency kind of in the in-between time there. But still just a few years. I mean, if you've studied a martial art at all in your life, even when you're a kid, think of how long it took you to become semi-adequate at any piece of it, really. It takes a while. Even if you're taking, say, karate and you're throwing a punch, the instructor is always coming back to you and, like, correcting your form, and you need to be in this spot, and that, there's all these little details. Even if you can throw a punch, that doesn't mean you can throw a powerful punch. But if we do bring this back to Star Wars, you have a pretty big variable with the Star Wars characters, and that variable is the Force. The Force seems to allow characters to kind of I don't know. The Force will guide the character's actions, so I'm thinking that possibly the Force allows somebody to become proficient in a faster amount of time, or at the very least, it kind of helps a character overcompensate for the many years it would take to truly develop a proficiency in anything without the Force. But that's just kind of my theory, and taking it a step back further, of course it's more entertaining if we can see a character grow and develop new skills faster. We don't want to really wait around 10, 20 years for somebody to become a master at something. As an audience, we don't have that kind of attention span. So it is a little bit of an instant gratification thing for us, but I was just kind of thinking about that lately and how quickly somebody can develop lightsaber skills in Star Wars, and I theorized that the Force makes that possible. Because I know if I were learning the lightsaber, like a real one, like with the Ultra Sabers, I'm not going to be halfway good at it. I haven't really done that much dueling. I mainly like collect and stuff, but I'm not going to be halfway good at it for quite some time. And I'd need to be working probably with some people that know what they're talking about. But anyway, that's me. Let me know what you guys think about it. I'm always curious what you guys think.